Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Brierley, and this is my husband, Scott Brierley. And if you've caught our episode right now, this is Soulmates and Suitcases. We are episode 41, and we have two amazing guests on today. Another amazing couple that we're excited to share their story. And their names are Destiny and Dustin Pirillo from Canada. From Canada, we're so excited, fellow Canadians. And we'll get started with our show here today. And we'd love to hear just a spec, a little bit more about you, where you guys are, what your sort of big maybe focus or mission in life is right now, and where you are in your life. Lots of amazing things to tell. I know. We'll just start that way.
So right now we're working on peer-to-peer relationships and doing speeches in regards to drug policy and how to get people from the downtown east side into more affluent neighborhoods and how we did it. So we met, and when we met, I moved in with him on the downtown east side. We lived on Main and Hastings, the center of everything. And I did homeless outreach and he did peer support through the Portland Housing Society. I worked through the Aboriginal Front Door Society, and we were helping people who struggled with substance abuse disorder on the downtown east side, which for those of you who don't know is the epicenter of
It's Canada's poorest
it's
postal code.
Canada's poorest postal code. So it's the drug center of Canada. It has to the point where like most people in the Pacific Northwest know when I say downtown East Side, know what I'm talking about. And that's both across the border and up here in Canada. So we got an opportunity to talk at the Terminal City Club, which is Vancouver's premier it was Vancouver's premier men's club. It's very expensive to go there. It's very affluent. It's pretty much business people making networking. And we got asked to talk there of how we moved from the downtown east side to a more affluent neighborhood. We live outside UBC in a very beautiful place. And the how we did it was through peer-to-peer relationships. We were able to talk to people in our community. We were able to talk to our sponsors, our sponsees, and get a lot of different ideas on where to go in Vancouver. And with a little bit of luck, we landed this place, but it was a lot of people helping us search, right? And so we did that, and we actually met Kevin Sabat. And if you don't know who Kevin Sabat was, he was the
Drug policy advisor under the Obama administration, as well as I believe the Clinton and the Bush administration. He was the only drug policy advisor to serve under both Democrat and Republican Party. And he was very, very impressed with our speech and wanted us to speak again about drug policy in Richmond this coming Monday.
Nice. Amazing, amazing.
yeah.
Wow. And before we move over to you, Dusty, to tell us a little bit about your background, Dusty, sort of give us a little bit more about you personally. What's your background? What's your experience? I know you're a mom.
Yep, I am a mom, but before that, I was a flounderer, to be perfectly honest. I used to be a vet assistant. That's what I'm trained as. Working in that field made me realize I hate it. I was not happy. I love animals. I love animals so much, but in my first 2 years of working in the vet hospital, I assisted in over 300 euthanasias.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a lot to
And
take.
I was only 21, and I was struggling with an eating disorder and my addiction. And my partnership at the time was failing. So I was with my high school sweetie for 7 years. We ended up at the end of 7 years being two very different people. We had nothing in common, had none of the same wants, needs, or wishes. So we ended up separating. I worked on a farm for a bit, milking water buffalo, which
There's
was
a
so
story.
much fun. And I had some odd jobs here and there, and then things started falling apart when I got sober because I hadn't taken care of my body for so long that I started to realize that there were things that weren't quite right. I ended up getting diagnosed with chronic vertigo, and they found that I had endometriosis. So with endometriosis, you have what? You have very low chances of fertility. And then I was on medication to help with it, that pretty much would make me sterile. They said you have a 10% chance with your endometriosis and this medication that you can ever get pregnant, even if you go off of it. And at the time, I didn't want kids. I didn't think I could have kids because of the endometriosis. So I was like, you know what? Fine, that's fine. So I'm sober, I'm living my best life, kind of figuring out, disability and my abilities. And I had moved like 15 times in 3 years. And, I had some interesting relationships, to say the least, but I mostly focused on knitting and crochet. And that started my first kind of business. What do we call it, business?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my first business was neurodivergent, and it was helping people who are neurodivergent, so ADHD, autism, CPTSD, PTSD, dyslexia, and people with a left that are left hand dominant. Even though I'm right hand dominant, I use dominant and non-dominant hand when I talk about my knitting or crochet. So I do non-hierarchical body first classes. So non-hierarchical means just because I'm the facilitator doesn't mean someone else in the class can't help you if you're not picking up what I'm putting down. And I find in a lot of traditional knitting and crochet classes, you don't get that. It's usually pretty expensive, so that the bar is already really high. It's about $90 for an hour class. Plus you have to buy supplies. So that's another $100 to $200. And then you go for the hour, and then that's it. You don't get extra help. It's only for the hour. So if you're working on a pattern, that's it. And then you're sitting there, if you're autistic, in a room filled with supplies, colors, bright lights. You don't know. And if you don't know what you're doing, it can be really daunting if you're in a class of 3 to 4 people. So
Mhm.
I offer the ability to have a class up to 10 people. I don't do more than 10 people. If I have 10 people, it's a flat rate. And if I have less than that, it is cheaper. And I try to meet people where they're at. Like I've helped people with brain injuries learn how to knit. There's these things called loom knitting. So they're a circle with pegs. And I teach people how to knit on that who have brain injuries or maybe they have arthritis. And I help people learn that way.
I love it.
So
I
I
love it.
start Yeah, so I started with that. I used to work at the Vancouver Aboriginal Friendship Center, or I volunteered there teaching the youth how to knit and crochet, because that's one of the things that I can give back as reparations. I can give my time and my skill. A lot of the younger generation are losing these traditional crafts,
I'd like to
right?
add in there your kindness, your skill as well, also your empathy and compassion for the
Yes.
person who is learning as well, right? Which I think is
Yeah.
huge because you talked about the connection with the people you're hoping to support or help or that sort of
Yes.
thing. And then can you, I'll just say this word, can you weave into your little story about what it is about the witchery, the witchcraft, the what is that all about in connection to your knitting?
So
I know
my
you haven't
knitting.
touched on that yet.
So I was getting to that.
Yeah.
So, seeing how all these people have had these interests. I've been pagan since I was about 9 years old.
Can you explain that to
And
our audience? What do you mean?
so paganism is usually the belief in the old way of things pre-Christianity. So I believe in a lot of the old traditions like Yule or winter solstice, with is the big one coming up. It's celebration of traditional holidays, it's celebration of the old gods, so gods that predate Christianity. And for me personally, I believe in animism, so that everything has a spirit and you can only create energy, not destroy it. So everything has a soul and a purpose. So some pagans are polytheistic, meaning there's more than one god in their pantheon, and a pantheon is just kind of like your Greek mythology. So, um, I believe in a creative spirit that is the divine, and it's the center of creation for all beings. And that is where I get my creative source. But through working with the Aboriginal Friendship Society, I got really curious about my own culture.
Hmm.
And this is what ties it into the witchcraft and knitting is I didn't know where I came from. I had no idea. I didn't know where my family came from. I had no idea what we did. I've now learned through doing DNA testing and my genealogy is that I'm very Appalachian. So my family comes from Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, South Carolina, and Arkansas. And then my maternal grandmother comes from Czechoslovakia and Ukraine.
Hmm.
So when I found out that, I was like, that's very interesting. And a cousin contacted me and said, hey, do you want to know more about our family? Like, I hired a private investigator of our Ukrainian family. Like, do you want to read the stuff? And I found out that I come from master weavers.
Ah.
So I believe because I'm pagan, that my ancestral knowledge or my ability to weave, knit, crochet, spin, because no one taught me these things. The only thing I was taught was knitting, and that was from a friend, but I picked it up like a fish takes to water, right? But everything else I learned on my own. I and so I think that's just an inherent ancestral gift that I was given. So I got the idea to start working on it was originally going to be like a little zine, like a little magazine type thing that you self-publish. And this woman called Larissa Hunter, who is also my co-author, put a call out saying, "Hey, is there any pagans or witches who um, has anything that I could publish? Like, have you ever wanted to have your work published? Have you ever wanted to, work with a publisher?" And I said, "Well, I don't know if I have anything, but I have this little zine. Would you like to take a look at it?" And she's like, "Oh my God, I've been looking for you my whole life. Like, I have this book that is half written, but I didn't know what the missing piece was."
Cool.
So then she helps me. So as that kind of grew, it really grew my witchcraft because I always thought of myself as pagan and I've always had a belief in witches, witches being folk healers to me. Like I think if you take on the term witch, my favorite term is woman in total control of herself.
Ooh,
So it's
love
very much a
that.
sovereignty thing,
Yeah.
whether you use you know, female pronouns, or I think that just having that powerful statement of sovereignty, right? Like even a man can be like, I'm a witch because I control my feminine power. I'm in touch with the divine feminine. And I think that can be really beautiful. So through writing this book and the correlation between knitting and witchcraft, you're weaving a spell. You write a spell, you weave a spell, right? So you're putting in everything is intention and manifestation. So you put in intention to manifest an outcome. So the idea is while you're knitting a garment or an object, you're putting in that intention. You're soaking it in herbs and you're saning it, which is a smoke cleansing with herbs. You're you can bless it by saying a prayer over it, but you're putting a lot of intention. Even getting specific wood for your knitting needles could be an intention in itself because there are sacred trees in Slavic mythology. So it's pine, cedar, juniper, and birch. And then there's the holiest tree, which is the oak tree, and that's the same in Norse mythology. The oak tree is the passage to the is also seen as the world tree. So it's the passage to the upper, the middle, and the lower realm.
So is all of this sort of stuff explained in your book that you
Yes.
co-authored? And so do you have a copy of that book there to
I
show?
wish I did. It hasn't really, it's released, but it's not shipping until December.
Okay, perfect. So where can people go to get your book and find out more about that?
So you can purchase it from Three Little Sisters Publishing. You can type them into Google, or you can find them on Instagram at Three Little Sisters LLC, same as Facebook. And then you just search knitting, and then in their search bar, and it'll pull up knitting is witchcraft. Or you can type in knitting is witchcraft on Google, and it'll show you Three Little Sisters.
Perfect. And it is not under your name, Destiny
It
Pirillo.
is under my
Pseudo.
Instagram handle, Fayte Shuck.
Okay, and we'll include all that in our details and description. Very fascinating. For me, when you describe all those things, it's like the one word that always comes to my mind is love. And that's
Just a brief pause in the show. If you'd like to dive deeper into our work, our books are available on Amazon. You can also get instant electronic copies at payhip.com/Lisa Scott Brearley authors. Now, back to the show.
love. And that's just the bottom line, like whether it's love of what you're using, love of your actions, love of your behavior, love, like everything is just kind of enveloped in that.
Yeah.
That's my feeling I get. Now, I love that you totally told us so much about you because that helps our audience kind of know where you guys come from and understanding of you more as well, Destiny. Now, Dusty, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? What's your big mission right now? And I know you're a second time dad now, but
Yeah.
a newborn.
My background is I grew up in Vancouver my entire life. My parents separated when I was 9 years old, and I grew up in East Van from then on. And in early adulthood, I started recognizing that, like my father, I had a problem with alcohol and other mind and mood altering substances. And it wasn't until my first son and my mom passed away when he was 6 months old that I started going to 12-step recovery and stayed in that relationship for 9 years. And after that dissolved, I started living on my own, been in a few relationships. Um, Pretty much my employment was as a house painter. I did a lot of charity work. I had a charity called Hope to the Homeless, where we'd hand out sandwiches to the people on the downtown east side by encouraging others to develop one-on-one relationships. So even back then, sort of started building what I'm starting to do now. The idea was that if the problem seems so big, is because everybody looks at it as an individual and sees how many people are out there suffering with this problem, where I encourage people to develop one-on-one relationships with one person who's struggling. And that's kind of been my philosophy ever since. And I guess part of that I got after the Olympics, about 6 years after I got reno evicted, ended up being homeless. I was sober at the time, and 6 months into it, I started using heavy substances, and I lived outside for about 5 years. And it wasn't until I started singing Christmas carols in front of a Shoppers Drug Mart on 4th and Vine that this father came up to me and said, "My son made you a gift. Is it all right if he gives it to you?" And I said, "That's fine." And he handed me a card, and on the front of the card was two stick figures holding hands. And he said, "That's me and that's you." And I opened the card and it said, "You mattered." And
Wow.
my life changed. Like from that second was the first time I ever liked myself in a hard position. Like I've had things go well in my life before and my ego would kick in and I'd feel secure. But once those things started to crumble, I'd fall into a deep depression. And I suffered clinical depression for quite some time. I'd lie helpless on the couch for months, unable to do anything seasonally ever since I was about 5 years old. And that didn't start changing until my late 30s. And when that 5-year-old boy gave me that card was the first time that I took on the philosophy of whatever arises, love that.
Mm.
So whatever emotion that I'm going through, happy, sad, glad, angry, I give that love like I would anything else. And I started building up from that point. I went into recovery shortly after, but that first round didn't stick. It was during COVID. And when I got released to a house where people were actively using. And I spent another year homeless. And then after that, I went to the Rapid Access and Addiction Clinic and got myself into the Harbor Light treatment program. And I've been abstinent from all mind and mood altering substances since then. And from there, I went through their program. I went to a second stage living facility at Grace Mansion. And from there, I moved to independent housing at the Ford building, which is right on Main and Hastings, but the building was mainly sober living, but non-monitored. And that's where I met this wonderful person. I met Destiny at the Vancouver Recovery Club, and I saw that she was being very helpful to the environment around her and very kind and giving, and just a service-centered heart. And I said, that's my soulmate right there. That's my
Beautiful. I love
soulmate right
that.
there. And we pretty much been together ever since. Little did I know that the person that she was helping out was a partner that she was with, but their relationship was already dissolving. And I started courting her, and we pretty much U-hauled it from there. Like we moved,
Yeah.
she was living in a place in New Westminster, and it was a bad situation, not of her own doing, but she was like, when she first moved in there, most of the roommates were students. But by the time when I met her, the roommates had switched over and there was active addiction in the house. The landlord was a slumlord. She was having to get power from the bathroom. The paint was peeling on the top and the landlord would do nothing. And I said, until you get your housing situation figured out, come stay at my house. And we haven't separated ever since. On Christmas Eve, we went to Van Dusen Gardens and I proposed to her. She said yes. And then Christmas morning we found out we're expecting.
Oh my God.
Woohoo.
That's
It
so
was that
cool.
it was that quick. But like everything we do together is like we're very team orientated. Like when she has service that she wants to go out and needs help, like I'm never resistant to it. When I have service I want to go and do, she's never resistant. You're just the type of people who just jump on the moment. Like it's
Mhm.
never a burden to go out and help.
What's your
Yeah.
biggest philosophy within your relationship?
Can I say it? Can I
Yeah.
say it? No secrets, only surprises.
I love
I
it.
love it.
I love
Yeah.
it.
So we're very open and honest with being vulnerable. We talk about our struggles. I mean, we both came from uh abusive,
Tumultuous start.
tumultuous childhoods where our parents did the best that they could, but they weren't the best caretakers. I grew up in violence. She grew up around violence. And so like growing through a relationship, like you can only do so much self-work, but it's still going to get triggered and brought up in a relationship. There's only so much you can do, and then that's going to get activated with others. So we were very proactive about that, where we were like, hey, these things are going to come up, but we're not going to use it as an excuse. That we're going to work on whatever's coming up and change those triggers into triumphs. And that's been a very huge part because everybody deserves to have love in their life. And because bad things happened, doesn't mean that we can't have a positive future.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I love your no secrets, only surprises. My term that I kind of came to was nothing gets swept under the rug. So
Yes.
we don't let that pile build or grow under the rug. Yeah.
For me, it's kind of like I support Lisa no matter what,
Yes.
and vice versa. That's what it's like. Yeah, go do it. She just brought up she wanted to do a breathworking class, and I'm like, okay, well, why are you telling me? Just sign up. Like, not that I'm not
Yes.
interested, but because and she goes, well, what do you mean? Because it sounded like she was asking me permission. That's
Yes.
what it felt like.
And we talk
So I
about
was
those
able to
things.
talk about when
Yeah.
you said it that way, I felt like you're asking me my permission, and you don't need to ask me my permission. Like we're a goal-orientated family, and it's
Mhm.
pretty cool.
Yeah, our autonomy is very, very important to us. That
Yes.
she maintains that her dreams and her pursuits, and I maintain my dreams and
Yeah.
pursuits. And like when I look at it, like I don't think compatibility is as important as the ability to facilitate each other's change because we're always changing. Compatibility only lasts so long because people are going to change. And
Yeah.
watching her grow into who she wants to be and her allowing me to grow into whoever I want to be has made all the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys are so young. I love that because that's inspiring other younger couples, I think, as well.
Well, we have a bit of an age gap. So Dustin appears young, but he is 45 and I am 31.
It's young.
Yeah, it's young.
Oh, good. My mom, because he's like 6 years younger than my mom, and she's like, Dustin's a kid. No, he's not.
I'm the
However,
beginning of
like,
the millennials. You're the end of the millennials. So we're
there
right
you
at the
go.
cusp.
There you
1980
go.
to 1994.
94.
And it does just go to show you that age doesn't matter. It's about
Yeah.
this coming together of these two souls who do want the best for each other, who do
Yeah.
support each other and respect each other, right? In that
Yeah.
area. And we all have our pasts, our stories, our whatever they are. And just like you said, I think it was you, Dusty, that said, like, our parents did their best. They did their best with what they knew. And just something I'd learned about, I think it was just this morning, that, even though you grew up in a family of whatever, how many kids, like two or more kids, the parents change over time. So, one child might feel that their experience in the family was much different than the other child because the parent also evolves over that time, just like we do.
I thought of that in like me watching my parents grow up because my parents were very young when they had me, but I never thought of it how much they grow from one child to another.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
What
That's
Lisa,
really
what
cool.
what Lisa started it was from Cabaret, wasn't it?
That information,
Yeah.
no, I think you're thinking of the whole authenticity versus
No, you shared this morning because none of us actually grow up in the same home. It may be the same building, but because the parents are different,
evolve.
the child's different, which gives everybody the different experience. And I kind of took it to another level where, because I struggle with 12-step stuff and I have for years and I still go. I'm committed because I know there's lots of people like me that have a hard time there. And not everybody that goes there gets the same experience. Not everybody that
Yeah.
does this 12 steps gets the bright light. And like I've
Yeah.
done the steps 100 times, well, maybe not 100 times, but lots of times that I've never had that big, huge spiritual awakening. Well, recently I've just discovered, I don't know if it's an interview, but something about Bill Wilson, that he was a huge advocate for psychedelics.
Yeah.
Yes, he
And to
is.
get
Absolutely.
your experience, that's how he got his. There's actually, I haven't seen it yet, but there's a movie on Netflix or YouTube, I can't remember which talks about that Bill Wilson got his first spiritual experience on magic mushrooms. And don't get me wrong, for years I was abstinent. And I know, Destiny, you've probably heard a little bit about my past from people. And I'm not the same person. And I know that. However, the big thing I learned today was because I'm still getting some of the same results that I've always gotten in my life. And it's like, what am I still putting out there to get the
Mm.
same results? Because whatever results I'm getting, I'm responsible for no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Whether I end up in a drug den or if I end up in a church, I'm still putting the results out. Or if I attract all the negative or I'm attracting the positive, I'm still the one putting all the energy, which draws that in.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I didn't believe that. It was, oh, poor me, poor me. Why does this always happen to me? Well, it doesn't happen to me. I'm producing it somehow.
Yeah.
And by taking ownership, it's mine. And
Yes.
so,
That's
yeah,
why Destiny and I put so much emphasis on incorporating a lot of play into our lives.
a lot of
Right? We
what,
do
sorry?
a lot of play.
Right.
So like
Oh,
we'll be
yeah.
out there and we'll just dance walk or we'll sing or we'll joke around and we'll act like 4-year-olds in public and like wave at random strangers and make eye contact, just start conversations with whoever's walking by or we'll bump Wu-Tang Clan when we're walking through Kitsilano with Arlo and just woo or when even at kids playtime we'll add a bit more when we're singing Old MacDonald and I'll add a weird animal like sea lions just make everyone laugh a little bit just to attract that positive energy to just be a little bit different in the environment and
Mhm.
stand out, but in a positive way, right? To allow other people to have that smirk, that little bit of a smile where you weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
Well, it remind that exact sort of behavior or choosing that behavior reminds me of, we were born, I'll call it perfect. We're born perfect in all ways. And so kind of looking and testing and doing those sort of things that you're talking about, Dusty, my apologies, Dusty.
The
Um,
double D.
the double
Yeah.
double T. Uh, doing those things allows you to go back to that free child. And then
Mhm.
because you step on up and do it, it allows other people to jump into that realm that they thought, oh my God, I'm not going to do that. And
Yeah.
it allows that release. So I think that's an awesome thing that you guys do that.
Yeah. Well, I always say when we met each other, we were perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
We didn't, there wasn't a need, but a want. Like we want each other. I don't need him. I don't need him to feel complete. I don't need him to be my purpose in life, but I want him to join in union with me to achieve my hopes, wishes, and dreams.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for people because the moment you need something, it leaves,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But if you want something, you give them the ability to grow and change and foster a relationship. There's limitless possibility.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
it's like the old saying that's to me it's a little strange, but it's like the programs I hear it said all the time, the program isn't for the people that need it, it's for the people that want it. But really,
Yes.
but the truth is it's for the people that work for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's the real truth. And it's like, and I thought I was there and working at my for years, and I was because it kept me sober. But
Mhm.
I had no other change in my life besides that. And
Yeah.
everything else was painful and slow till I don't know, a catastrophic happened. And there's a really cool thing on YouTube. It's called Finding Joe.
Oh yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. And he talks a lot in the show, they talk a lot about that our lives to implement huge change, a catastrophic event has to happen. And a
This is true.
catastrophic event is different for everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
Like some people that
Mhm.
come to the program come because their emotions got out of control. Some people
Yeah.
come because they go to jail and no reason's the wrong reason.
No. I like that. It's something that we tell our actually I started by telling a friend of ours and then I told Dustin is trauma. It doesn't matter if you have a can of gas or a glass of gas, both are going to go kaboom.
Yeah.
So when we talk about catastrophe or something that's traumatizing in our lives, someone else may not think it's traumatizing, but our body,
Yeah.
it's what how our body reacts to it.
Yeah.
And that's something we really focus on in each other is if one of us is feeling out of control as an emotion, so we go by hungry, angry, lonely, tired. It's also called halt. So when our emotions get a little bit out of hand or we're feeling lonely or extra tired, we kind of check in. So that way it doesn't become trauma in the body. We understand that trauma is stored in the body, but it doesn't mean we have to continue making it.
Yes, exactly. And the fact that each of us deserves to, what was the point I was going to make? Each of us deserves to kind of be able to see it and release it and walk through it and choose something different,
Hmm.
which I think
Well,
is
that
is
was that
beautiful.
was the most interesting thing for me that I tackled is when I started working for the Portland Housing Society. That was going to put me in direct contact with the paraphernalia that I used.
Mm.
And a lot of people were like, oh, that's going to be triggering. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm expecting it to do, is I want to heal my relationship. So I was able to reprogram myself by how I was handling these items, that I was out there, I was connecting with people with the community. I'm on this side of the fence, they're on that side of the fence. And at the very beginning, I would get a bit sweaty, my heart would race, and I just call my supports and then do prayers and reset intentions and do meditations around it. And by a month, it was no longer, and it held no more power in me.
I love that. I love that. I think that reminds me of a lot of people who, they're switching their diet, for example. And it's like, just get the chips out of the house. If you don't see it for some time and you get into, I guess, a habit or pattern or routine of not
Yeah.
seeing it, but then being very conscious, like you just talked about, getting back into that space, being able to walk down the chip aisle and go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like eventually, right? That's a great way of looking at it. I love that. Very aware.
And it was interesting because so I'd hold it more slow instead of just being in the motion, as I'd hold and be like, what's happening in my body? Where am I feeling this?
Yeah.
Where's the tension? What's going on? And then I would be able to just over tense it and then release it and then do those intentions and stuff like that. I did a lot of yoga nidra around stuff like that. That sleep meditation where you're flexing all the parts of your body and then releasing it with
Amazing.
intention.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he really helped me through my really difficult pregnancy by being able to be a source of calmness, as well as that ability to be like, where are you feeling this in your body? Because I was so sick that obviously my anxiety would flare up. And he'd be like, where are you feeling in your body? What are your fears? And we'd sit and we'd talk about them. And it was really hard for him in the last 6 weeks of our pregnancy because I wasn't understanding the brevity of my situation of having preeclampsia and how severe my preeclampsia was. Like it was to the point where what was the doctors were saying that my family should come and visit me. I might have lost the baby or myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
So it was really scary, but he was solid. He pulled on his supports. He supported me, and it really brought my family and him closer. He doesn't have the best relationship with his family, but my family has adopted him completely, and that's never happened before.
it's beautiful. A beautiful place to be in, that's for sure. So,
Hmm.
so
Like
now,
even though like what we went through was a lot of struggle, the way that we treated each other was extremely admirable. And like the memory we have looking back is like, wow, we really treated each other in kind. We were loving, we still laughed and joked
Yeah.
and treated each other with like total respect and understanding and gentleness. And it's like when you look back on that, it's like when I look back at the struggles that I had, I remember how people treated me, not how like I physically felt.
Yeah.
and that's key. And with
Yeah.
that's a perfect segue into my next question. So how do you
Final pause. If you've got a message on your heart and want to be our guest, don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you. Visit forwardwalkingchoices.com, scroll to the Soulmates and Suitcases podcast section, and click Apply Here. Now back to the show.
so how do you feel as new parents, how you are bringing your sense of love and respect and all that sort of stuff into this child now? Do you feel like what's your look on that now? I don't know how to ask that question right, but
I absolutely adore Arlo and spending as much quality time with him as possible. And so does Destiny. Like he is and he's got like just such a warm smile. He's not colicky at all. He rarely cries and just being there for whatever he's feeling. We don't try to change what he's feeling. We're just there appreciating what he's feeling. And like we co-sleep. We believe in attachment parenting
Mhm.
in that sense. And we find that because of that, he goes to sleep pretty easy. He's already starting to self-regulate. Other people can hold him and caretake Arlo, and he's just a gentle guy. We take him to meetings all the time. Like people are like, "Oh, you're already taking him out. You're not at home isolated," and he's just out smiling, and we're just listening to the tunes that we normally listen to, and then we bring him for baby time so he can have his baby time, and we're just living like life normally and taking him to he's around all the supports that we're around. We don't try like, oh, we're going here and you have to do this. And
Yeah, we don't censor life from Arlo. Like if we're out late, he's asleep in his buggy. If we're on the bus, he's with us on the bus. If we're going to an appointment, we go to the appointment as a family. We're very much, unless it's an appointment for like he's got an appointment coming up that's just for him. And then I have my therapy appointments, which are just for me. Um, we do everything as a family. We try to be as together as possible so that way we can work as a team. We also don't believe, like I said, we don't censor life from Arlo. When he was 2 months old, we had a funeral of someone who was going to be his uncle, a family friend or a friend that became family, and they overdosed and passed away. And while we were at that celebration of life, I had Arlo in his carrier. And I realized that there were three people who really needed some baby love. So I let my now sponsor hold him because they were really struggling. They were very close with our friend, and then our friend's parents got to hold Arlo, and you could see that healing that they had, just having that joy of the next generation while feeling something so hard, being able to share the love and to share the love of such a calm and loved child is a really magical thing.
yeah. And then we take him on our own adventures. Sometimes I just
Yep.
grab Arlo. I'm going for a walk and I'll go for like a 3 kilometer walk with him, and Destiny will go and take Arlo to where she wants to take him, and and it's never a hassle. Like it's
No.
like I've noticed that we do things a little different. Like it's never like, oh, it's your turn or it's my turn. Outside of like being over touch stimulated. Like I've held him for 2 hours. I need a 5 minute break or whatever in that sense. But it's never like it's now your turn. It's now your turn. It's always like, all right, he's part of the team.
Well, we do jokingly say it's your turn when it comes to the poopy diapers.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
I know I've had friends in the past where they go on babysitting and I'm like, don't you have kids? They're like, yeah, I'm babysitting my kids. And I'm like, aren't you their parent? Like I don't have kids, but I can't imagine saying if I had kids, I'm babysitting them because you're not babysitting them.
No, you're parenting.
You're
You're
spending time with your
parenting,
kids.
parenting, and when you were describing sort of what you do with Arlo, and it's like for me, I see that I see him as a reflection of who you show up now today.
Mhm.
So I hope that's that's his gift to you
Yeah.
that you get to see that.
I think the hardest part for me is that things are different, like how I was treated. So like doing things differently with him brings back memories of what I had to go through. So there's a bit of that pause within myself where I gotta sit there and stop, do some breaths, and then send my past self, my inner child, that healing
Yeah.
because of the gifts that I'm giving my son now. It's like instead of withholding it, where I remember like an older style of parenting is, well, if it was good enough for me, it's good enough for you. Like that
Mhm.
old style of parenting. And it's like, no, we're evolving as people. It's better now. So I'm going to allow
Yeah.
that gift to happen just so long as I'm able to provide an example of discipline, an example of being able to be emotionally available,
Yep.
providing the example of being able to help out with the house and do what needs to be done, those sort of things that parents would naturally do.
Yeah.
But being able to provide a better life because I'm growing upon what was taught to me is a beautiful gift that I'm glad to give.
Yeah, we very much work on the know better, do better model. If you don't know, you don't know what you don't know. But once you do know, you should aim to do the same or better.
Yeah.
Well, it's
You're-
funny how it was just said about changing stuff and looking at things different. I've had a big issue in my life that I've looked at and I've been a little bit resentful, and you just helped change my life a little bit because I can look at it differently than I've always done. And thank God it's not happening. as much in today's society as it did back when it was happening to me. Not so much in my family life, but in the 12-step world. And
Oh, believe me, I had a lot of resentments when I went back just because of how one fellowship talks about the other fellowship and
Yeah.
vice versa. And I grew up because my dad found recovery when I was about 10 or 11 years old.
uh-huh.
And the first time I ever used was at NA's longest camp, spring clean and all. And like, if everyone's growing to be so responsible, then how come all their kids are off getting high at an NA camp, right? They don't know anything. So there's a bit of that tension there. And but luckily this time that I went in, I came in with a relationship with a higher power, and I came in
Mhm.
not feeling defeated in the sense like I was excited to be there. And I was there to gain wisdom from mentors who had like you just felt a glow about them, and everything else is like I'm not going to let that negatively affect me, like I don't let negative comments on Facebook,
Hmm.
affect me in my day.
He doesn't. I still have a lot to learn.
But it's really nice that you get to see how he handles and manages that and
Yes.
actually have a conversation about it and to walk through it. And just like
Yeah.
you're, testing yourself going back into that environment with needles, same thing for you. Like it's like now just testing out, oh, I see, I see this feeling. I acknowledge that feeling and oh, okay, I can let it go or I can walk through it and do something different. So really cool.
Yeah. My biggest thing is I'm a people pleaser, not to Dustin, but to like anytime there's adverse or adversary or complications in anything, I'm like, okay, what can I do? I fawn. And fawning is very much the people pleasing. What can I
Yeah.
do to assist you? How can I help? Dustin's teaching me to get mad.
Hmm.
He's
Nice.
like, if someone crosses your boundaries, they don't love you, and you need to show them how to love you. And if they can't respect that, once you've made your boundary very clear, get angry, tell them to go away.
Yeah, and sometimes for it's an understanding of when something happens like that, and you just ask yourself, and why is that? And then you ask yourself again, and why is that? And why
Yep.
is
Yeah.
that? And it usually comes back to those old patterns that you've learned in your life or triggers or whatever's coming up for you. And it's to when you acknowledge it, it's kind of like the tame it, name it to tame it kind of an idea. When
Oh, I like that. Name it
yeah,
to tame
tame
it. That's a
it.
good one.
So you acknowledge it and you go, oh, that's what it is. Now I can choose something different.
Nice.
Yeah. A lot of these little cool tidbits you learn along the way. And so we're
Yeah.
kind of coming to the end of our amazing conversation. So what is coming up for you guys? Like what you said you have some big speech coming up.
Yeah, so we're speaking at the Prosper Symposium on drug policy, and that's in Richmond. So that's coming December
December
1st,
1st.
which is this Monday, and that's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. There's going to be the mayor there and a bunch of other city councilors and
Other movers and shakers in the drug policy world.
Is this open to the public to come and see?
uh
Um,
there's tickets start at $120 per person. It's for a charity event.
It's
That's actually not a bad price
it's an important,
nowadays.
very important then. Good for you guys. You're making a big impression on people. Wow.
yeah, I mean, when we got together, things just opened up. Like we became a powerhouse couple very quickly, which neither of us expected. And in the Vancouver recovery scene, people really looked. I didn't think I was doing recovery right. Like, I'm like, I do 12 step, but whatever works for you, if it can keep you sober, like, keep doing that. And then Dustin's like, that's exactly what you tell them. And then people started asking us advice and then relationship advice. And I'm like, hold up, what is happening here?
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you open up your channels and you're able to show
Mm,
sort of your authentic self and your real self and that nurturing self. I think that's the flood comes in.
yeah.
But yeah, those are the things is working on like these are my paintings back here. I work on a lot about on writing. I'm getting ready to write a book about my recovery journey. But just basically just going out there, like I've been doing a lot more speeches at schools.
Oh.
teaching kids to develop core relationships where they can get vulnerable with somebody else, right? And getting people to understand, recognize the early signs of things that are similar to addiction, where you feel uncomfortable in your skin all of the time, and learning how to find a mentor to help you guide you through that. So maybe you don't even have to pick up that first substance, and have to hit those rock bottoms, and being able to recognize the difference between sitting in emotion and sitting with. Like when I'm working with people, I always give them a gratitude rock, and then like get them to relate to their emotion through the gratitude rock, so they can start develop a relationship with their emotions, because they're there to teach us, right? And as soon as, at least for myself, when I started developing a one-on-one relationship with my emotions, like they stopped overwhelming me. So I realized a lot of my addiction and other issues with depression was just anxiety mitigation. Like when anxiety would come, I just want to move away from it. And that led me to living a very aimless life. And where I started having goals and building towards those goals is that when the anxiety started going away through that development of working with my emotions and not allowing them to own me and be surrounded by
I
them.
Beautiful.
I say this a lot in a lot of the podcasts because it's something that's come up for me in the last couple of years. I got diagnosed, I think, 2 years ago with ADHD. And I'm the guy that if you had to set a label, it's like labels, they're for idiots, they're for and you know what? I've embraced this one, and uh I've learned about it, and I've listened to books, and with you talking about depression, like I got labeled depression for years in recovery. And it's like 75% of people with ADHD get misdiagnosed for depression.
Yep.
So and I didn't know this, and I say facts like this because there's a lot of people that might be listening to this that struggle with A, being in 12 steps, or B, not getting a solution. And there's always something different out there that may help if you're struggling.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know where
It just may be the 5-year-old boy that gives you the letter that says
yeah,
you matter.
exactly.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as that. And I think that's a perfect way to end our podcast today, because
100%.
it is important that we remember you never know what impression you will leave on someone. So make it a good one,
Yeah.
right?
And we're gonna end this in our Thailand profession.
We're going to say thank you so much.
Kapunka.
Kapunka, thank you so much.
Kapunka.
Destiny and Dusty is amazing conversation.
It was.
And all the best in your speeches, your books, all your endeavors, your art, your knitting, everything. And all the best with Arlo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, both of you.
No matter what comes our way, I can always say, I know we'll win the fight. Baby, it's you and me. Here's to the rest of our lives.
Want to get our books fast and at the best price? Get your electronic copy at https://payhip.com/Lisa Scott Brearley authors. Again, that's https://payhip.com/Lisa Scott Brearley authors.